Anagha madam, am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, yes, sir. So we were waiting for you to join.
I am able to hear you, but I am telling because of you are not able to hear me. Participant, please start. Please start.
Okay, okay. So
Please start that.
let us start this session. A very warm welcome to all of you for this second session of this today's
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
schedule. Hello. Yeah. So I will introduce Dr. Rajendra Patil, sir. Dr. Rajendra Patil is from Department of Biotechnology, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. He is an assistant professor at Department of Biotechnology, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. He completed his PhD from Department of Biotechnology. Dr. Patil has completed research projects from ISRO SVPU Joint Research Program. He has 78 publications and 2 Indian patents to his credit. Dr. Patil's research group is involved in engineering delivery system from drugs, therapeutic proteins, micronutrients, and traditional medicines towards therapeutic and clinical applications. This also includes engineering and pharmacological development of various nanomaterials, advanced delivery systems for therapeutic agents against critical microbial infections, also pharmacological and toxicological profile of novel nanomedicines. So let us hear from Dr. Patil on the topic of nanotechnology in biosciences. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Padak, and thank you for introducing me. I'll just try to share my slide. I'll present my slide. Just a minute. Madam, are the slides visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. And sir, is the cursor as well visible?
Not yet.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Cursor is not visible.
Cursor is not visible. Also, sir, can you make it full screen?
Yeah, it is full screen.
No, we are not able to see the full screen.
It is full screen at my end, ma'am.
Okay.
Sir, you have to go to so instead of this mode, you have to change to full screen presentation.
Okay,
Okay, you have to
okay, sir.
desktop, right? That is the end.
Okay.
So if you go
Yeah, I'm I'm
full
working
screen
from the desktop. Yeah. Just a minute, sir. I'll just share your entire screen. Okay. No.
and 5 it will be visible.
Is it visible, ma'am?
It is visible, but still not in full screen. But
This is strange, ma'am. I'm sharing the window, ma'am.
okay, so you can share the entire screen, I think.
I think if I share entire screen, I think I myself would be visible then. Instead of
Let us
presentation.
try that.
Okay, let's try it. Okay, this is me only. I mean, yeah, I mean, entire screen is visible instead of presentation.
So now you can open the presentation. Click on the presentation.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Presentation is open.
So just try the this symbol. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah,
Now
okay.
it's visible in full screen. Good.
Okay, is the cursor as well visible, ma'am?
Cursor is not still visible, but you can just show the arrow of your mouse if you are operating. Yes,
Yes,
now
yes.
it's visible. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I think there is some lag in the internet.
Okay.
That's why there is some delay. Okay, thank you for confirming the things, ma'am. I'm sorry for this interruption, ma'am.
That's okay.
Okay, yeah. Welcome all participants. I welcome you all. And as Dr. Pathak has introduced me, I'm Dr. Rajendra Patil. I'm from Department of Biotechnology. And today in the FDP program of 12th session of this FDP program, I'll be presenting information on the nanoscience in biology and biotechnology. So this will be my topic of today's talk. And before I start my talk, I'd like to give the brief outline of my presentation. So I'll be starting with the introduction of nanoscience and nanotechnology. Thereafter, I'll try to speak on the properties of nanomaterial. I'll briefly will discuss some properties of nanomaterial. And thereafter, I'll try to discuss the various applications of nanomaterial in medicine, cosmetic, food and packaging industry, environmental science. This is something is the most important field these days, and agriculture as well. And later I'll try to speak on the nanosensor as to how nanomaterials are used in sensing in sensors. And lastly, I'll try to speak on the toxicity and risk assessment of the nanomaterial. Of course, when we discussed about the applications of nanomaterial, it becomes very essential as well for us to study or to know as to what are the toxicity and risk assessment or risk associated with the use of nanomaterial. So let's start the presentation. Well, before I start my presentation, I'd like to give a brief account of the what do I mean by nanoscience, or what do we mean by nanoscale. Well, how small is the nanoscale, or how small is the nanomaterial? Nanoscale is a dimensional range which is approximately 1 to 100 nanometer. So what does it mean? Take an example of few of the pictures. If you take the diameter of a pinhead, it is almost 1 million nanometer. If you take an example of the human hair, it is almost 50 to 70,000 nanometer. If you take an example of sheet of paper, whose width is around 75,000 nanometer. Now, take an example of red blood cells. They are around 7,000 nanometer. And most importantly, take an example of DNA strand. The typical width of the DNA strand is around 2.5 nanometer. And if you arrange the hydrogen atom laid side by side, their entire length would be somewhere between 7 nanometer. So that's the range of the nanoscale. And what is 1 nanometer? 1 nanometer is about 10 to the power 9, which is 1,000th of micrometer. In other sense, 1 billionth of a meter. So this is about the description of the nanoscale, or this is what the nanoscale range is. Now, let's start with the concept or content nanoscale and nanotechnology. So before I give you the application of nanoscience and nanotechnology, I'd like to give a brief introduction as to what do I mean by nanoscience. Well, the field of the nanoscience or the field of the nanotechnology has come into the existence owing to the great thought, great lecture by the scientist Richard Feynman. He was the one who had conceived, he's the first person who has given the concept of nanotechnology in his famous talk, which he had delivered in a conference. And in 1959, there was a conference of physics, and in that he had given a talk and in that talk he mentioned a point that there is a plenty of room at the bottom. In fact, that talk was to mean to say that how many nanometer can be fit on a one pinhead. That was his content of the talk. And in that content of the talk, he mentioned that there is a plenty of the room at the bottom. What does he mean to say is that on a head, on the head of the pin, there can be so many structures can be arranged, innumerable. That was what he was trying to present in his talk. So that's what he is the one who has introduced the concept nanotechnology. And it was way back in 1959, his talk. However, his talk got published in 1992, and then the people could knew. Of course, the field of nanoscience has a very dramatic development. I'll speak about that. What do I mean by that in a subsequent slide? But had the scanning tunneling microscope, had the high resolution or the electron microscope would not have invented, the field of the nanotechnology would not have progressed. Thanks to the discoveries, thanks to the invention, I mean to say, of a scanning tunnel and microscope and electron microscope, that this nanoscience and nanotechnology field could grew. Now, so what exactly is a nanoscience and what exactly is a nanotechnology? So nanoscience, it's a study which deals with engineering the material at a nano level and using those material for the production or for the construction or for make of the useful product. That is what the nanotechnology is. So the science that deals with engineering the material at nanoscale, that science is called as nanoscience, and the technology which uses this science for the fabrication of some product useful in our daily life, and dimension of those products should be 1 to 100 nanometer. Those products and that field and that technology is called as nanotechnology. And what does nanotechnology provide us? It provides us with the ability to design material, that is product, with the enhanced property. Now this is a very interesting thing, that now there are two ways in which the nanomaterial can be synthesized. I'll cover that point in after a few slides, but just to mention an intriguing property of the nanomaterial is that these nanomaterials, well, when the bulk or the ions forms a nanoparticle or nanomaterial, the property of that atom changes. So a bulk material, when it comes to the nanostructure, the entire property, physical, chemical, optical, mechanical, all those property changes. And because of the change of the properties of that matter, of that product, a new enhanced property is imparted to that product, and that enhanced property is now used for various useful applications. And that's what we are these days are taking the advantage and the fruits of this nanosciences. Well, before I continue and start further the application of nanoscience, I'd like to view the standard definition that is mentioned by the American Society. Now, if you refer various literature, the definition of the nanoscience or nanotechnology is varied, but there's a common consensus that a nanomaterial is defined as the material whose at least one dimension is below 100 nanometer. So the International Standard Organization has defined precisely the term nanotechnology as understanding and control of matter. This is very important. Control of matter and the processes at nanoscale, typically but not exclusively below 100 nanometer in one or more dimension, where the onset of size-dependent phenomena, that is reduction of that matter to the 1 or 100 of the size, usually enables novel application to that matter. And that is what the standard definition of the nanomaterial is. So that's what the things are. Now, well, let's again give you the glimpse of how at a scale of a nanometer, how are the various nanomaterial size are structured or as are distributed. So as I said, nanometer encompasses all nanoscale material that at least contain one nanoscale structure. That is what the usual more pursued definition of nanomaterial. Now I'd like to give a brief account of the various nanomaterial: liposomes, polymeric nanomaterial, dendrimer, nanomycelium, polymersome, nanogels, magnetic nanoparticle, carbon nanotube. Carbon nanotube and graphene are these days are the most favored and most studied nanomaterial these days for their various characteristics. So on a scale of nanoscale range, the dendrimer are the very smallest nanomaterial. These are the structural, regular structural branch nanomaterial, which has got a very tremendous application, particularly in the drug discovery. There are other polymeric therapeutic nanomaterial which falls near 2 to 4 nanometer. There are metal and metal oxide nanomaterial which falls anywhere in the range of 10 to 50 nanometers. And lastly, some liposomes and polymeric nanomaterial, they have a size somewhere between 80 to 200 nanometer. However, at least one dimension of this is below 100 nanometer. That's what that for that reason they qualify as a nanostructure. I'll just briefly will give the example in 30 seconds. Take an example of nanorod. A nanorod can have a length of 1 micrometer, but its width is less than 100 nanometer, and that structure qualifies as a nanomaterial. So because one dimension width is below 100 nanometer, so that's why that compound qualifies as a nanomaterial. Well, there are two different ways in which the nanomaterial can be synthesized, and these are top-down and bottom-up approaches. Since my talk is particularly in regard to the application of nanoscience, application of nanomaterial in nanoscience and biotechnology, so I'll just briefly will give you the account of these things. So top-down approaches means that a bulk material is broken down in a very small nano or micro particles, or is converted into the small micro or nano particles by various means such as mechanical milling, these are sputtering, laser ablation, etching. These are all the physical methods. So a bulk material, a huge material, with the help of all these physical processes, can be converted into the small structure material, nanomaterial. This is called as top down. That is, a bulk is converted into small tiny structures. A bottom up approach starts with the atomic or molecular level. What does it mean? The bottom up approach starts with the salts of that metal or molecule of that compound. Now I'll speak that there are broadly nanomaterial are divided into two classes: organic nanomaterial, inorganic material. Now if I speak about inorganic nanomaterial, take an example of zinc nanomaterial, then the bottom up approach starts with the conversion of zinc ion first into the zero state, a nucleus, a zero valent zinc ion as a nuclear structure, and those nuclear structure then grows and forms a nanomaterial, a nanoparticle. And what are the different methods by which the nanomaterial can be synthesized through bottom up approaches? Well, this is a green synthesis method which has great tremendous scope, which I'll explain a little later. Well, most of the bottom up approaches uses a chemical reduction method where metal ion reduced to zero state, nucleus, and then nanomaterial, followed by the Sol gel processes, chemical vapor depositions, molecular condensation, and supercritical fluid synthesis. These are the new methods. But however, most of the most of the bottom-up approaches are tried with chemical reduction and Sol gel processes. Now, I would like to speak about the green synthesis, which is a matter of very concern and which these days has been explored in a great detail. Because most of these methods are chemical or physiochemical, which incurs heavy energy or generates heavy chemical pollutant. So green synthesis is being now tried, and in a green synthesis, bacteria, fungi, algae, yeast, and there are some reports that viruses as well have been tried to synthesize the nanomaterial. There are reports. So how does these bacterial structure tends to do the job of converting the salts of metal into the nanomaterial, and does happens by the same method as a reduction. And this reduction, that is reduction of ions into the nanomaterial, is done through various constituents of that animal or that organism, mostly proteins, oxidoreductase enzyme, some polysaccharide, amino acids, and glutathione, reduced glutathione. These are some of the biomolecules that have been reported till date, which converts the metal ion into the nanostructures or nanoparticle. And this is very feasible, and this is scalable as well. Bacteria, it's scalable. Plant material, it's a huge, sorry, I haven't mentioned the plant material over here. Plant material is a huge material. So these material are in a huge quantity, and using those extract of those material, the green synthesized synthesis of nanomaterial by green way is very possible. And various nanomaterial of various structures, various shapes, ranging from nanorods, nanowires, nanotubes can be formed. Now, this is just an properties of nanomaterial. When a bulk or the metal ion forms a nanostructure, nanoparticle, then those nanomaterial acquires very different properties. Their properties, because the structure is converted into a nano form, then they acquire high surface to volume ratio. That is the first thing. Their electrical conductivity changes. Because of change in their electrical conductivity, nanomaterial are being found, they are finding very good application in various electrical process. Nowadays, the miniature circuits are constructed by forming a copper nanorods. So copper nanorods, they are, with the help of copper nanorods, small circuits are formed. Then some nanomaterials, they have been finding a huge applications in magnetic field, and because nanomaterial also has a very different magnetic properties, so those nanomaterials are used in various magnetic application, say in biological, the MRI scanning, and in MRI scanning. Even in electronic, most of the nanomaterials and mostly the semiconductor material, they are finding a huge application in electronics. The transition metal, ZNO, cadmium oxide, cadmium sulfide, they are finding a huge application because of their change in the property. And most importantly, because of the surface reactivity, because nanostructures are formed, because of the structure reactivity, they are finding a huge applications in antimicrobial property as well. Now, as I said, when the nanoparticle or nanomaterials forms, then there are 4 physiological things of the nanomaterial that changes. Size changes. So if the size changes, they acquire a very different property. Smaller the size of the nanomaterial, greater is the reactivity. So, and greater is the reactivity, better is its application. Mostly these days, the catalyst, for example, the hydrogenation of oil that was done with the platinum is now done with the platinum platinum nanomaterial, because the rate of the conversion or the hydrogenation of the oil is very high. If we use a very small amount of this platinum catalyst, so decrease in the size increases the catalytical rate of the hydrogenation of the oil. So that's the importance. So decreasing the size increases the property, influences the property of the nanomaterial. Same is the shape. Mostly spherical shape of the nanomaterial has a higher surface to volume ratio, so they are finding a huge application. Well, of course, shapes of the nanomaterial has a great importance in when they are used as an intravenous material, or when they are used to deliver the drug in the body, human body, because clearance of the nanomaterial from the renal system also depends upon the shape. Most important is the charge of the nanomaterial. Well, most of the nanomaterials, because they are, if I talk about the inorganic nanomaterial, then most of the nanomaterial has a positive charges. Now, because of the positive charges, they tends to interact with the negative charge surface of the biological material, and in this way, their antimicrobial properties also is influenced because of their positive charge. Most of the nanomaterial have the positive. Of course, there are some nanomaterial which has a negative charge as well. And most importantly, the material. Is it a composite? Composite means made up of 2 different metal. Is it a single nanomaterial made up of a single metal? So based on is the nanomaterial of single type or is made up of more than one metal, that composition also defines and also affect the characteristics of that nanomaterial. Now I'd like to give the brief account that after discussing these things, anyone could get an idea or can envision that is the nanomaterial as a modern technology? No, nanotechnology and this nanomaterial or nanotechnology is not a modern science. In fact, nanotechnology was being practiced in ancient as well. There are a few examples of use of nanomaterial in the ancient history. The famous example is the Lycurgus cup. Well, this is a very famous example of ancient nanomaterial, wherein this cup tends to appear as a green in daylight. However, when the light falls on this, reflected light falls on this cup turns into the red. And this change in the color of the cup only because of the reflection of the light is due to the nanocrystals of gold and the silver. Similarly, there are other examples in the history. For example, there was an alchemist Paracelsus, who claimed that drinking gold nanomaterial improves the healing process. In fact, that was true because it increases it establishes the microbiota in a human. Now, what is microbiota? I'll touch up that point at some later stage in my slide. So this nanotechnology field, this nanotechnology science was used in ancient time as an art. Then it was not known as a science. The very good example of use of nanotechnology in ancient time as a science, as an art, is the medieval stained glass. Now, these paintings, they are made up of they are glass. However, in this glass, there are nanostructures of various sizes of gold and silver. So when the nanostructures or the nanomaterial of 100 nanometer of gold and silver were present, then those nanomaterials were imparting yellow color. When the size of that nanomaterial was of 40 nanometer size, they appeared as a blue when the light falls on that glass. Similarly, when the size of the nanomaterial is 100 nanometer and they are triangular, instead of spherical, they appear as a red. So shape and the size of the nanomaterial shows a different optical property or imparts different optical property to the glass, that in ancient time this was being used for painting. So that's what the use of the, I mean, that's how the nanotechnology was practiced in the ancient industries. In fact, in India too, the nanotechnology was practiced in ancient ages. Like it was being documented that the Tipu Sultan's sword and the Ajanta painting, they had the carbon nanoparticles, and these carbon nanoparticles impart hardness to the structures. In fact, the ancient the bhasmas preparation that we use these days, and the bhasma and the preparation of the bhasma involves the metal along with the herbals juice or the herbal extract of the plant, and that entire content is heated in an enclosed vessels at a very high temperature, and in presence of the herbal extract, the metal used to turn in the presence of high heat into nanostructures, and those nanostructures along with the herbal juice was used in ancient days and now also used as a bhasmas. So bhasma is also is example of nanomaterial, and that has been practiced since ancient, but then it was not known as a science. However, nanomaterial, nanotechnology as a science could only be visioned because of the famous lecture of Nobel laureate Richard. Now, I like to tell you the various types of classification of the nanomaterial. Well, nanomaterial are broadly classified as organic and inorganic, but a notion is accepted where that nanomaterial are classified based on their dimensions. When the nanomaterial are of 0 dimension, then it means that they are spherical. It means that there is a concept called as aspect ratio, that is length of the axis of length of the longer axis divided by the length of or width of the smaller axis. That is called as aspect ratio. So in zero dimension nanomaterial, that aspect ratio is 1. It means that this material is a spherical material. Example of that includes quantum dot and fluorine. Now there are 1 dimension material. Example of 1 dimension, in 1 dimension, that one dimension is in more than 100, maybe more than 100 nanometer. However, the other dimension is in less than 100 nanometer. Examples are nanorods, nanowires. These are the example of for 1 dimension. 2 dimension nanomaterial include the sheets. Now, graphite sheets or the nanoplatelets. So in this case, the width of that sheet is less than 100 nanometer, but the surface diameter of the entire sheet is more than 100 nanometer. Those are the 2 dimension. And the 3-dimensional nanomaterial are the bulk nanomaterial, polycrystals, dendrimers, liposomes. These are the 3-dimensional nanomaterials. So these are the examples of the classification of the nanomaterials. I'll not go into the details of this. I'd like to now straightway go to the application of the nanomaterial. Now, nanomaterial or nanotechnology has application in chemistry, physics, engineering and biology. So it has applications on fundamental sciences, and together physics, chemistry, or the interdisciplinary approach of these subjects has merits of application through nanotechnology in energy. In fact, these days nanomaterial are used to harness energy. Now we all are aware of the electrical car. This electrical car could happen or is coming to the existence because of the batteries made up of a nanostructure material. Medicine and drug have progressed in a very progressive way, that now these days most of the drugs, they are delivered through nanomaterial. Cosmetic industry has a huge boost. In cosmetic industry, use of nanomaterial has increased drastically in last 1 decade. Food packaging and agrochemical, in agrochemical and food packaging industry as well, the nanomaterial has just got introduction. And now most of the food packages, they are wrapped with a nanomaterial covering, so that their shelf life and their shelf life is not only preserved, but they are not destroyed by the microbial attack as well. And in agriculture field, nanomaterial is used extensively. In fact, you will be astonished to see that there are nano urea, nano fertilizers these days are being sold in the market, and those nano urea, nano fertilizer have tremendously improved the farms. There are some studies as well. Now, I like to give an overview of the applications of nanomaterial in the biotechnology. So as I said, this nanomaterial. Now, what are the different nanomaterials that have applications in biotechnology? Carbon-based nanomaterial, that is nanomaterial made up of a carbon, fullerene, graphite. Then nanomaterial made up of a silica. Quantum dots, these are the nanomaterials whose size is less than 10 nanometer. There are metal nanoparticle, metal oxide nanomaterial, polymeric and magnetic nanomaterial. So all these nanomaterials has a great applications in biotechnology. And which are the field, or what are the field in the biotechnology where this importance or the application of nanomaterial spans? It is in the consumer product, as an antimicrobial material, as in a cosmetic, in food packaging, in food processing. Nanomaterials are used extensively to preserve the aroma of the food, the flavor of the food. In fact, the anti-cracking and the gelation and thickening property of some food are acquired due to use of nanomaterial. Of course, those nanomaterial are nutritional nanomaterial, that to mention. Agriculture field has extensively is using nanomaterial in a form of nanofertilizers, in a form of novel nanopesticides. Then there are many foliar applications of nanopesticides. Then there are some sensors developed based on nanomaterial to detect the presence of pathogen, and even nanosensors are being formed that detects the health of the soil. So that's how in that way, in that aspect, in that extent, the nanomaterial has penetrated in the agriculture sector. Nutrition, of course, mineral nanomaterial, or nanomaterial made up of minerals, say selenium, zinc, iron, or they have been highly used as a fortification method, as a method to fortify the food. So nanomaterial are used in the nutrition to fortify the food. They are also used in the nutrition, particularly to decontaminate or to disinfect or to clean the drinking water. And some nanomaterials are used in food industry to sense the palatability and the structure or the staleness of the food. And in biomedical field, the highest application of the biomaterial of the nanomaterial are in the biomedical field. They are for photoimaging. They are used as a drug delivery vehicle. They are used to treat the cancer, particularly the magnetic nanomaterial, owing to the hyperthermia property of the magnetic nanomaterial. Precisely, the tumor are targeted and tumors are killed. The nanomaterial are also used to deliver the gene at a very precise site, that is called as silencing side technology, that is also called as antisense technology. And nanomaterial, particularly the quantum dots of cadmium and transition metal, they are used in imaging, because there are organic fluorescent molecules. They have been used in the imaging, but they have some limitations. So this is something is the application of nanomaterial. Now this is again the applications of nanomaterial, that is microbial and plant synthesized nanomaterial has a myriads of applications in antimicrobial field, in the cosmetic, in photoimaging, and in treating various type of cancers, cell imaging. And not only the nanomaterial made up of a chemical method, nanomaterial made up of nanomaterial synthesis by green synthesis method also have been used to in various myriads of the application. Well, this is something is the important milestone that have occurred in the development of nanomedicines. So I'll not go into the details of this. This is that nanomedicine, the progress of the nanomedicine has expanded in recently from 2008 onwards. The expansion and refinement of nanomedicine and nanomaterial in the medicine has established. This is now, as I said, some of the nanomaterials have been approved by the FDA. Examples of some of the nanomaterials that are approved by the FDA are the lipid disc in 1995, even the hydrogels, which is silicon hydrogels that are used in contact lenses. Then there are nanocrystals, which are with nanocrystal having the carbanoq for treating HIV. Then there are iron oxide nanomaterial with ferridics that is used for MRI imaging. And recently virus-like particle, that is virus itself, is used as a nanomaterial. So capsid of virus is used as a nanomaterial, and the cargo of the drug is delivered because that capsid has a precise receptor that can be targeted to the precise cells. Oh well. These are the material commonly employed in the nanoparticle therapeutics. They are lipid, polymeric. So that is most of the nanomaterials that are used in biomedical field. They are liposomes. They are made up of a lipid nanomaterial or liposome. They are made up of a polymeric nanomaterial. There are hydrogels. In fact, pegylated nanomaterials. Pegylated. That is, pegylation is something, is a concept that when the nanomaterial pegylated, their half-life in the human body tends to get extended. So these days, pegylated nanomaterials are finding a huge applications for drug delivery. Now, these are some of the applications of nanomaterial in medicine, particularly the magnetic nanomaterial. They are used as a contrasting agent for MRI scanning. Magnetic nanomaterial also used as in the photodermal therapy. That is, these magnetic nanomaterial, they are irradiated. And the heat, and because this magnetic nanomaterial absorb the heat, they tends to burn the tumor tissues. They are also used to treat bacterial and viral infections. They are also used as a delivery agent. Most importantly, most of the nanomaterial are used as in a cell imaging. So lipid-based nanocarriers, polymeric nanocarrier, and viral nanoparticle. As I said, viral nanoparticle means, as I said just now, that is a capsid, and inside of the capsid is a cargo of material. Through that, the cells are targeted. So those are viral nanomaterial. Now I'd like to give a brief account of the work that my lab has performed. That my lab recently has synthesized zinc oxide nanomaterial by using the lignin, and it has targeted the biofilm of the Candida albicans. Now, Candida albicans is one type of fungi. It's a fungal, and this fungi is these days is been observed in most of the hospital infection. And importantly, this Candida albicans has the ability to produce biofilm, and this biofilm, when the biofilm gets, when the Candida albicans forms biofilm in a human tissue, the immune system cannot recognize these Candida albicans because of the presence of the biofilm. And then because the immune system cannot recognize these cells grow and then destroy those tissues and the organs. My lab has used biogenic hierarchical zinc oxide nanomaterial by using lignin, and has targeted these Candida albicans. So what we did is that, in a brief, I'll tell you that we had extracted the lignin, then we have fragmented that lignin, we oxidized that lignin, and by using lignin we synthesized the zinc oxide nanomaterials, and we tested it on the Candida albican biofilm, and it had inhibited the biofilm. And not only it had inhibited the biofilm, we also had studied as the molecular mechanism of those biogenic zinc oxide, as to how does the zinc oxide target the biofilm of the Candida. And lastly, we have studied the cytotoxicity of those nanomaterials in the animal model as well, and we found that our nanomaterial synthesized were non-cytotoxic. We published this work recently in Material Science Engineering C. This work was jointly done by my student Amruta Shelar and my collaborator student Professor Chaskar's student Kanchan Joshi. So we studied the biofilm inhibition by using confocal laser scanning microscopy. So to give a brief account of the same, this biofilm is a control that this biofilm has synthesized the mannose unit. That biofilm has a mannose unit, and we use the concalin A, and this concalin A has a high affinity towards the mannose unit of the biofilm. So definitely in the control cells which synthesize highest amount of the biofilm, this concalin A is absorbed, and when this film is eradicated with 580 nanometer wavelength, it appears as a green. However, fragmented lignin, this has inhibited the biofilm formation, and we studied it we studied the molecular mechanism as to what are the genes that are affected by the use of this zinc oxide nanomaterial, fragmented nanomaterial, oxidized fragment material by real-time PCR. And we have found that the genes that play an important role in the biofilm were down-regulated. So positive regulator of the biofilm were down-regulated, and the negative regulator of the biofilm was upregulated. So that was the work that we published. In fact, there was one more work that we published way back in 2017, wherein we use zinc oxide. We fabricated gold nanoparticle on the zinc oxide nanomaterial, and we have inhibited the quorum sensing ability of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. In fact, we also have conjugated those zinc oxide nanomaterial with the quantum dots, and we also have found that zinc oxide nanomaterial, when conjugated with the quantum dots, also inhibit the biofilm. You can see ZNO-CDTA, the cadmium telluride with the quantum dot, those were functionalized on the zinc oxide nanomaterial, and you can see that it had entirely inhibited the biofilm. Inhibition of biofilm is being envisioned as a Lex green color, Lex, because biofilm has a mannose unit and concalin attaches to mannose unit. So similarly, we had also shown that silver nanomaterial as a impeder of bacterial growth and biofilm. In fact, we use silver nanomaterial as an anti-quorum sensing molecule, and we published that work in 2015-16 in Applied Microbiology and Biotechnology journal. So now, how does this nanomaterials tends to inhibit the biofilm, tends to inhibit the growth of the microorganism? Well, there are n number of target for this nanomaterial. So the nanomaterial may inhibit the replication of the DNA. DNA genetic material of a cell. It may inhibit the replication of the DNA. It may introduce the protein leakage. So it may introduce transient pore on the cellular structure through which the protein can be leaked out. It can damage the protein also. It can oxidize the protein. It can bring about the dysfunction of the mitochondria. Mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, they provide the energy to the cell. Then they can disrupt the cell membrane or the cell wall. So if the cellular structures, this microorganisms, they are surrounded by a cellular structure, so it can damage the cellular structure and so forth. So these are some of the mechanisms through which nanomaterials do act. Now, I'd like to give an examples of the use of nanomaterial in the cosmetic industry. Now, guys, you'd be astonished to see that cosmetic industry is projected to grow by $844 million by 2023. That is what the projected growth of the use of the nanomaterial in the cosmetic industries. So where does the nanomaterial are used in the cosmetic industries? Well, they are used as a body care lotions. They are used to nurture the hairs. They are also used to nurture the skin, and they are also used to take the oral care of the mouth. These are some of the applications of the nanomaterial in the cosmetic industries. And nanomaterials of nanosphere, nanoemulsion, liposomes, nanoparticle, dendrimer, and nanotube. They all have find a profound applications in the cosmetic industries. Now, I'll just give the example that nano emulsions. These nano emulsions, as emulsions are made up of oil in water phase. That is, there's oil dispersed in water or water dispersed in oil phase. Because oil tends to dissolve in a lipid, so in these nano emulsions, a cargo of the drug is introduced so that through this nano emulsion, those drug can be efficiently can penetrate deeper into the skin. Liposomes on the same basis, they are made up of a lipid bilayer in which the drug or the nutrient, skin nourishing nutrient is introduced. Through that, skin is nourished. There are some nanomaterials which has the ability to penetrate deep into the skin, nanotubes, nanosphere. They have ability to penetrate deep into the skin, and through that, the sub layers of the into the sub layers of the skin, the cargo can be cargo, that is the drug or the nutrient that nourishes the skin can be delivered. So these are some of the ways in which the nanomaterial can be targeted in the cosmetic industries. And what are the two main possible ways in which this nanomaterial penetrates the skin? Well, it enters via hair follicles, or diffuse through the gaps between the corneocytes. So in between the cellular two junctions of the cell, it may penetrate through junctions of the cell, or at the level of the follicles. Through that, the nanomaterial can enter and can nourish the skin. Well, this importance of nanomaterial in the food industry is very, very huge, and these days, in fact, nanomaterial application has penetrated deep into the food and packaging industries. In food and the packaging industries, nanomaterials are precisely used for two purposes: food processing and food packaging. Now, these all two are the different processes. Food packaging comes after the food is processed. Now, what do I mean by food processing, and what do I mean by food packaging is that food processing is a amalgamation of the various processes through which the food of a one quality, having a one texture, which is pursued by the user, is produced through various technical process, that is called as food processing. And when that technical product is prepared, the wrapping or the protection of that food material is called as food packaging. So nanomaterials are finding this application in two different areas: food processing and food packaging. Now, anti-cacking agent. Well, ice creams, some jellies, and some chocolate, they tends to get that consistency owing to the presence of some nanomaterials, some organic nanomaterials. So anti-cacking, they are used the anti-cacking agent that improves the consistency and prevent a lump formation. Lump of the, see, now most of these days, chocolate and confectionery industries, they are using fructose instead of sucrose, and nanomaterials are used so as to prevent the fructose from forming the clump. Nanomaterial also used to improve the nutritional quality in that food. Precisely the zinc, selenium nanomaterial, then some minerals nanomaterial, say iodine nanomaterial, manganese nanomaterial, magnesium nanomaterial. They are added as an additive through and those additives are added as a food additives. Through that food additives, fortification of food fortification is introduced. So nanomaterial through food processing is also improving the nutritional quality of the food through food fortification processes. They also are used as a gelatin agent to improve the texture of the food. And in fact aroma, some food acquire their nutritional or the capital value owing to the aroma or the flavor. And to protect the aroma or the flavor, flavoring agents are encapsulated in various nano emulsions, or they are encapsulated in the nanoparticle so as to protect the aroma of that food. So that's where the nanomaterials are finding an application. And in food packing industry, in food packing sectors, well, nanomaterials, they are used to improve the physical performance of the food. What does it mean? See, by using, as I said, when the nanostructures are formed, various property changes, including the mechanical property. So improved mechanical property is imparted through a packing material, and that way it improved the physical form of the food. Well, these days, nanomaterial, zinc oxide nanomaterial is already has been approved by the FDA to use in the food packing material. Silver is also being used. Even aluminum oxide is now been is giving some importance to use as a food packing material. So these zinc oxide, the silver nanomaterial, they possess antimicrobial property. So food are packed to impart the antimicrobial property then. And some nanomaterials, they are used as a smart sensors. So what does it mean? That if the food stales, or if the food over ripens, ripening of the food happens owing to the some hormones, ethylene. So quality of the food, staleness of the food, even the microbial contamination of the food is now detected through a smart food packaging material. So these are the areas where nanomaterial are used. In fact, the polymeric nanomaterial, they are highly introduced in agri-food in industrial sectors. So the food these days, not in India, I'm not aware of some of the examples in India, but yes, there are some examples in abroad where fruits, they are coated with a thin layer of nanomaterial, and by coating the fruits and intact fruits, the food respiration is reduced. Then food is prevented from the microbial attack, and the oxidation of the food by the heat, by the air is prevented by the use of nanomaterial coating. So that's where the nano coating and nanomaterial as a nano coating is being used. In fact, uh, uh, many of the food material, now when we eat food, the food goes through large intestine, small intestine, large intestine, and the stomach. So in small intestine, it has acidic conditions, and most of the food in acidic condition, or some of the nutritional quality, some of the vitamins in the acidic condition of the small intestine, they are destroyed. So these days, some of the therapeutic food, or some of the food which has a therapeutic importance, they are delivered as a nano coating, so that in the small intestine, they are prevented from getting degraded by the gastric actions of the small intestine. And in this way, when they move from large intestine to small intestine, they can be easily absorbed. So nano coating of the therapeutic food is done to prevent their degradation in small intestine, so that they can be when the latter travels, they can be absorbed by the stomach and the epithelial lining of the stomach, and in this way the nutritional quality of the nanomaterial can be absorbed. And how is this done? Well, these fruits, they can be coated with the help of nano emulsions, or with the help of nanofibers, and how this is done? The fruits, they are deep coated, they are immersed in a solution of nanomaterial, and take an example of a selenium or the zinc oxide. So these fruits are dipped into the solutions of nanomaterial, and these nanomaterials are made to layered as a single layer, or is made to adhere on this food, and that's how the coating of the nanomaterial is developed on the food. Now, what are the different nano systems in the edible coating? Well, this was all about the intact food. These days, cut fruit, when we cut the fruit, take an example of apple or mango, or take an apple is the best example. So when you cut apple, and if we leave the cut apple as such at room temperature, we will observe that after some time it turns into the brown color. In fact, most of the cut fruits, they tend to lose their nutritional quality. Cut fruits are prone to the microbial actions. Even cut fruits are prone to the oxidation. So there are various nano system in the edible coating, and particularly in the cut fruits. Say nano emulsions, by deep coating, they are coated on the cut fruits so as to maintain the quality of the cut fruit, and this is done through various techniques, by spray coating technique, by deep coating technique, even the um, various food surfaces, they can be I mean, some cut food can be deposited by the electrospin technology, and in this way the cut food surfaces can be protected from the microbial attack as well. Well, the nanomaterial in the food packing has implications in improving the packaging. That is, the nanomaterial in the packing part of the food application, they maintain the temperature, moisture stability, they maintain the mechanical strength, and as a smart packing material, they can be used as a sensor to identify the microbial contamination or microbial degradation. As active packaging material, they can be used as antimicrobial material to prevent the microbial attack on the food. And as a as a packing structure, that is, these nanomaterial can be made up of a biodegradable polymer, so that environmental pollution cannot happen if they are that packaging material is dumped. And so those are and these all nanomaterial in the food industry, they can be categorized as an intelligent nano packing material, so as to gain the information of the content of the food or the process that are occurring in the food, say food ripening. So intelligent nano packing to know the metabolic activity of the fruit or the food. Active nanopacking to impart antioxidant property and antimicrobial property, and a smart nanopacking to as to maintain the or to as to know the environmental parameters of the food, or the how does the environment interact with that food. So what are the benefits of the nanomaterial in the food packing? Well, it lower pesticide use, because if by using nanomaterial in the food industry, the life of the or the shelf life of the fruit is increased. It means that the same food which was earlier was destroyed by the microbial action is now preserved. So use of nanomaterial in a food industry or packaging is lower pesticide use, because it protects the food, it maintains the flavor and texture, it extends the shelf life of the food, then it maintains the quality and the freshness of the food. And in fact, some nanomaterial add nutritional quality to the food, say selenium nanoparticle, take an example, or mineral nanomaterials. Well, there are slight hazards of the use of nanomaterial in the food industries. There are some reports that some nanomaterial, they tends to create lesions of liver and kidney. Some nanomaterial, they tends to create an inflammation of the intestinal gut. In fact, very few nanomaterial in the food, they have been reported to cause cancer, but those are the sporadic or rare studies. So, but of course, if there are evidences, then definitely people will give a thought to it. But overall and all, nanomaterials find a great application in the food industries. Now, coming back to the environment science, these days, see, guys, owing to the industrial development, textile industry, they are producing good quality of textile. Ceramic industry, they are producing various structures that are required to build the structures of the building. Textile industries or the textile industry, they are delivering heavy metals, various dyes into the effluent, and those dyes and the heavy metal and even the organic and the sewage waste, though it is treated these days, but sometimes due to some reasons, some sewage is just discharged into the freshwater system or the various industrial plant, though they have regulation or bondation with them to treat the discharge of their industrial waste. However, some discharge is straightway is discharged into the fresh water, and that is polluting the water and the soil. So nanomaterial has come to the rescue of environmental as well. So nanomaterial in form of absorption, nanomaterial as a photocatalyst. So some nanomaterial, they can absorb the heavy metal. Some nanomaterial act as a photocatalyst. They degrade the organic pollutant present in the water. Some nanomaterial act as a filtration, graphene and porous nanostructures. so that the organic and the metals, they are removed. So this is how the nanotechnology has entered in cleaning up the environment. So what are the applications of nanomaterial and environmental science? Well, nanomaterials, a nano absorber, nanocatalyst, nanofiltration, they are remediating the soil and the water. And how did they do? Take a small example. I'll just give a small example that uh, uh, here the textile industries, they color the cloth, and that dye, it is discharged into the effluent in the fresh water, though it has to be treated, but some portion is just where it's discharged in the fresh water. So what happens is that nanomaterial file, particularly the semiconductor nanomaterial, owing to the photocatalysis mechanism, what do? They generate reactive oxygen species, and those reactive oxygen species degrade the dye. So they convert the carcinogenic dye into the harmless product. That is one way in which the nanomaterial are finding applications in the environmental sciences. In fact, this is the best example, that semiconductors. So what happened is that uh, uh, when the UV light or the sunlight falls on semiconductor material, valence bond, the formation of conduction and valence bands are formed, and water is splitted, hydroxyl and superoxide ions are formed, and this hydroxyl and superoxide ion tends to mineralize the organic material. In fact, this hydroxyl radical and superoxide ion tends to destroy the microbial and viral or fungal load in the sewage or in the water as well. So this is how the nanomaterials are used. So they are used as in removing the pollutant by the absorption. Nanomaterials in the environment science is used for disinfection of drinking water. They are used to degrade the pollutant, and various nanomaterial, say for removing the pollutant by absorption, zeolite, the activated carbon are used to remove the organic pollutant. Then to disinfect the water, chitosan, titanium, semiconductor nanomaterial, they are finding great application to disinfect the water. In fact, to degrade the or reduce the chemical by photocatalysis, TiO2, ZNO, even graphene sheets are now used in an extensive way to reduce the pollutant in the environment. Now, how does this nanomaterial works in the environment science? Well, see, how does this nanofiltration works? Now, what happens is, in this case, is that uh, nanofiltration works by a membrane, and there are stacks of membrane. These stacks of the membrane has a pore size of 0.001 micron, and as you know that the size of the protein, viruses, size of the viruses, suspended particle, collagen, and the bacteria, they are more than 0.1 micrometer, more than 0.1 micrometer. Take an example of size of E. coli, it is somewhere between 2 to 8 micrometer. Take an example of suspended particle, they have the size of 2 to 8 micrometer. So using a nano membrane which has a pore size of 0.001 micron, bacteria, colloidal, suspensions, virus, even the proteins can be filtered out, and only the mono or the divalent ion can be made to pass through. And in this way, the industrial effluent or the wastewater is being remediated. I'll give a example of how this nanofiltration membranes are prepared. This nanofiltration membrane can be prepared by formation of a phase inversion process, in which the solution of the nanomaterial is made as a solid on the porous structures. The second way of doing it is by the layering the sheet of the nanostructures over the porous structure. The third way is by the etching method. The solid nanostructures are etched by the help of a laser beam, and the last is by electrospin method. And these are some of the methods through which nanofiltration and nanofilters are produced, and these nanofilters are used in environment science to remediate the pollutant water. Way back somewhere in 2011-12, we used cobalt dendritics, that is these are the what do you say? These are the morphology of the dendrite structure. Cobalt nanomaterial, hexagonal cobalt nanomaterial having a dendrite structure, were efficiently used to remove the coliforms, and that work was published in RSCU Advances in way back in 2011-12. So, hello, am I audible, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So in environmental science, hydrogels, graphene oxide, carbon nanotubes, metal nanomaterial, activated carbon, and graphene oxide sheets are highly used to remediate the environmental pollution. So activated carbons is prepared. The raw material is carbonized, and that carbonized raw material is packed and used to absorb metal and the various organic pollutant. In fact, the magnetic or the metal content of the sewage waste is removed by using the magnetic nanomaterial. What is done is that sewage water or the pollutant having the metal content is mixed with magnetic nanomaterial, and it is passed through the magnetic bar. So because this magnetic bar will attract the magnetic nanomaterial, and all magnetic nanomaterial which are attracted towards so all metal ions in the water, they are attracted to this magnetic nanomaterial, and this magnetic nanomaterial would now attract to the magnets, and in this way purified water and other micropollutant, precisely the metal ion, can be removed from the water. So this was what the applications of nanomaterial in the environment science. Now nanomaterials are also finding great application in the agriculture. Guys, this is something is very important in India. In fact, we use we use tons of urea, we use tons of fertilizers, we use a huge amount of pesticides, all with the aim to increase the agriculture production. But now I think, this is my opinion, that time has come that we need to look at nanomaterial, use of nanomaterial in the agriculture field. So nanomaterial has found a great application in agriculture as well. And how this is done, I'll explain you. In fact, there are products, nano products in the agriculture field. There are nano pesticides, there are nano fertilizer, there are nano herbicides in the market, and there are nano sensor as well, which detects the quality of the quality of the soil, and it also detects the microbial, if there are any microbial infection on the crop plant. So these are some of the products that have been introduced, nanomaterial product that are introduced into agriculture. Now, how does the nanomaterial work in agriculture? Well, nanomaterial work in agriculture in two ways: as a protectant and as a carrier. So silver, gold, titanium, copper, and chitosan nanoparticle, owing to their antimicrobial property, they protect the crop. And as a carrier, what do? They carry with them the active ingredient. So they carry means they are carrier of insecticide, they are carrier of fungicide, they are carrier of herbicides, and these nanoparticles are sprayed on the crop, and with the slow release of this insecticide, fungicide, or herbicide, control release of these is made on the leaves or to the plant material. And in this way, the soil is not been contaminated by the excess of this insecticide, pesticide, or herbicide. In fact, in plant biotechnology, nanomaterial are used to introduce small interfering RNAs to create the transgenic crop. And what are the benefits of using the nanomaterial in the agriculture? Well, it increases the shelf life of the material of the crop, because and some nanomaterial, they tends to increase the solubility. There are chitosan nanomaterial particularly are used to introduce the lipophilic or the hydrophobic pesticide, and this nanomaterial with this active ingredient are also added as a fertilizer, nano fertilizers, and nano nutrient to the soil. Now, what are the different models of the application of nanomaterial in the agriculture field? Nanomaterial are used as a foliar exposures. carbon-based nanomaterials, silver-based, cerium, titanium, copper, and zinc-based nanomaterial, they are applied as a foliar applications. And through stomata, through the trichome, these nanomaterials are absorbed and they are imparting antimicrobial properties, some nutritional property to the plant. In fact, nanonutrients are delivered. Up till now, we all are heard that through roots, plants tends to take up the nutrient. But now, I think after a decade or so, we will also hear that through leaves, the plant is acquiring the nutrient that is required for its growth by the foliar applications of nanomaterial technology through nano. So this is now can happen as a future. Now, nanomaterial can also be used to release the content by stimulus responsive. So a core shell nanomaterial, that is the core of nanomaterial having the active ingredient and shell of nanomaterial. So a stimulus responsive or a pH responsive, or when the insect attacked on this plant, and when this insect secretes the enzyme, the shell of this nanomaterial is also broken and the active ingredient is made available. In this way, a stimulus responsive nanoshell can be delivered in agriculture field to target the pathogen at the onset of the pathogenic attack. So whenever the pathogen attacks, they tend to secrete the enzyme. Those enzymes also act on this shell, and when this enzyme acts on the shell, the interior cargo is released, and that interior cargo is antifungal or antibacterial, and it is against that pest. So in this way, the nanomaterial have been used in the agriculture. And what does nanomaterial do? They have been used, or they are being used to improve the plant overall growth as well. We'll see in a subsequent slide how nanomaterial are improving the plant growth or the plant health. There are some nanomaterials, and they can improve the quality of the seed, or they can improve the plantlet that germinated from the seed, and the method through which the seeds are primed in such a way so that healthy plantlets can be developed, that is called as seed nanopriming. So these days, instead of applying nanomaterial over the plant, the seed can be programmed with the nanomaterial, and that program seed can, when sowed in the soil, will develop a healthy plantlet. That is called as nanopriming. Seed nanopriming is a method through which seed can be primed with the active nanomaterial or with a nano carrier, so that seeds tends to get some property that helps the seed to for the early establishment or the faster germinations. And what are the benefits of this seed priming? Well, nanoparticles, when seed priming is done, this nanoparticle, owing to the their ability to produce reactive oxygen species, they tends to hasten the germination process in the seed. They tends to improve the crosstalk of the hormones. Hormones in the seed tends to help the seed to develop into the plantlet, and they tends to change the expression of some of the genes that help the seed for the rapid germinations. And so a low level of the reactive oxygen species germinate the seed or initiate the germination of the seed through these processes and tends to develop a healthy plantlet. And how this nanopriming is done? This can be done by using a electrospin technology, wherein the seeds are spun or the seeds are coated with the nanomaterials, and that spun seed then is prime, or the prime seed is then used in agriculture field. And this is also done through other techniques such as dry powder application, rotary coater, or the drum coating, through which the seed coating, seed can also be coated with the help of fertilizer, or the seed can also be coated with the nutrient that may help the seed in for better establishment after germination. So this is called as pelleting. So coating the seed with a thick layer of nutrient that help the seed for germination, that is a sill pelleting. Encapsulation can also be done, and in fact a thin layer of nanomaterial can also be coated on the seed, and in this way the seeds can be primed for better development when sowed in the agriculture soil. In fact, the nanopriming method has helped the plantlet to tolerate various biotic and abiotic stresses. So in the drought condition or in the fungal attack or in the presence of heavy metal or increased salinity, the growth of the plant gets stunted. However, when the seed is nanoprimed, fine, that nanoprimed seed helps the plant to develop into the healthy plant, which has an increased antioxidant level, which has an increased level of plant defense hormones, which has an increased nutrient absorption abilities, and so priming the seed with the nanomaterial have been found to alter the entire physiology of the seed, and the plantlet that develop from this seed has all healthy characters. And recently we published one of our article. One of my students, Shelar Amruta, has published an article in the Cell wherein we had introduced the seed nanopriming technology to prime the seed for the better germination. So what are the changes that occur when the seeds are treated with the nanoparticle, that is called as nanopriming? See, the inside the seed there are contained starch is present. So when the seeds are primed with the nanoparticle, starch is degraded, sugars are formed. These sugars tends to help the embryo to germinate. So these are some of the development that occur with the nanoparticle. Without nanoparticle, starch is not converted to the sugar that efficiently. So without nanoparticle, metabolic activity of the seed is less, low sugar, seed having low sugar content, whereas seed is having the slow water uptake abilities. However, in presence of nanomaterial, what happens is that the starch is hydrolyzed with the help of alpha amylase, sugar is made available. This sugar tends to hasten the metabolic activity, and this hasten metabolic activity increases the water uptake, and because of the water uptake, cell wall get loosened, and radicle and the plumule tends to germinate from this seed. In fact, this we have also have documented that nanopriming can take care of abiotic and biotic stresses. So by the use of nanomaterial in a abiotic stress, the plantlet, the seed can germinate into the healthy plant. However, in the abiotic stage, the healthy plants tend to succumb. It tends to dies, and this death is manifested by the decrease in the shoot length, a decrease in the enzymatic activity. Same is the case with the biotic stress. When the seed plant are given a biotic stress, say of fungal pathogens, and if these seeds are primed with nanoparticle, then these nanoparticles do not allow this fungus to attack to the seed, and the plantlet that formed from this seed is a very healthy plantlet in comparison to the seed which was not treated with the. Of course, the plantlet that develops even after infecting the seed with the pathogen is as good as the seed without infecting with the pathogen. Mean to say that pathogenic attack do not alter the physiology of the cell. The nanoparticle priming do not alter the seed physiology. Now, these are some of the ways in which nanomaterial is also can be used in the soil management. That is, nano fertilizers, nano nutrient can be added into the soil, and in this way, agriculture productivity can be improved. Now, nanomaterial also are used in the sensory development. They are nanomaterial in sensory development. Various enzymes. Now, what are those nanosensors? These nanosensors, this nanomaterial for using nanomaterial used to sense the content. They are used to detect the microbial infection. They are used to detect the pathogen. They are used, in fact, nanomaterial are used to know the quality of the wine. In fact, nanomaterial are also used to analyze the food. Nanomaterial also used to know the safety quality of the food through sensing the aroma of the food. So various analytes of the food, aroma, microbial cells, pathogens, proteins, they all can be detected through various receptors, and so nanomaterial also finding some application in this sensory development. I'd like to go to the next important application of nanomaterial, the toxicity part of the nanomaterial. So Well, up till now, we had a discussion that nanomaterial has an importance in the sensory development. Nanomaterial has an importance in the agriculture sector, in the seed priming. Nanomaterial has an importance in increasing the agriculture productivity. They also have been used in various other applications. Now, having studied these things, it seems a rosy picture of nanomaterial, that nanomaterial has a myriads of application without any side toxicity. That is not the case. There are some research articles, there are some report that says that nanomaterial do have a toxicity. So some of the nanomaterials, say aluminum oxide nanomaterial, copper oxide nanomaterial, in fact, zinc oxide nanomaterial, if it is a dopant, or the titanium nanomaterial, some fullerene and silica nanomaterial. Some of the nanomaterial, there are reports that they are having the toxic effect on the cells. So alumina oxide nanomaterial, copper oxide nanomaterial, silver, zinc, they are having cytotoxic issues. Some nanomaterial have been reported to disrupt the mitochondrial function. Some nanomaterial have been reported to disturb the cellular integrity. Some nanomaterial have been found to induce oxidative stress. Some nanomaterials have been found to generate genotoxicity. Some nanomaterial have been found to impair the immune system. Other nanomaterial have been found to demineralize the bone, or damage the kidney. Sorry, other nanomaterial have been found to increase the, or have been found to be non-immunogenic and having some toxicity. And what are these cytotoxic? See, main application of the nanomaterial, they are given orally, is that they tends to disturb the microbial flora of the intestine. And when the small intestine, the microbial intestinal flora is disturbed, the entire body balance get disturbed, and this is something is not good. Some nanomaterial, well, they tends to uh, aggregate some protein content, and uh, and when some nanomaterial tends to acquire cellular proteins on them, they do not function. In fact, some nanomaterial tends to well, what are the how does what are the different ways in which the nanomaterial impart the toxicity? As I said, it can develop into the neurodevelopment disorders. It can damage the skin. It can disturb the gastrointestinal flora. It can create some reproductive disorders. It can impair immune system. It can be genotoxic. It can damage the DNA. So once this nanomaterial enters through any of the pathway, endocytosis or through receptor mediated pathway, uh, uh, they tends to taken up into the, like when any foreign material enters into the body, there are lysosomal entity. This lysosomal entity fuse with Golgi complex and degrade the content. So when this nanomaterial appears in the lysosomal part of a cell, those lysosomal, they go into the autophagy and dysfunction. The cell tends to go to the death. There are some nanomaterials, they induce lysosomal rupture through the release of the hydrolytic enzymes. There are some nanomaterial that tends to bring about the genotoxicity, that they creates a stress reactive oxygen species through which proteins and the DNA get damaged. Even the Golgi complex and the endoplasmic reticular system of the cell is disturbed, and this tends to force the cell to the apoptotic pathway. There are some nanomaterials that induces the inflammations, particularly the induction of interleukin, and this interleukin introduces the inflammation of the gut, and inflamed gut do not absorb the food. So these are some of the toxicity of the nanomaterial. Now, what are the like? In fact, this nanomaterial also have been reported to affect the aquatic life. So when this nanomaterial are having the end application, they are discharged. structures, and some um, fish in the aquatic system, they ingest this nanomaterial, and in this way biomagnification of the nanomaterial is being absorbed in some cases. In fact the engineered nanomaterial used for various purposes, food packaging, food additive, or in medical purposes, when they find their path to the river water, through river water to the agriculture soil, and through agriculture soil through the crop, they may, or through the fish, I mean through the aquatic product, they finally may enter into the human body, and they may be responsible for creating various disorders such as reproductive dysfunction of the reproductive system, respiratory disorder, cardiac, neurological, and disorders in the digestive system. So having said this cytotoxicity or the toxicity of nanomaterial, it becomes very essential to understand what are the risk assessment of the nanomaterial. Well, this is something is a very interesting field, and here there has been a great scope to study the nanomaterial. Up till now, there are no such documented thing to assess the toxicity of the nanomaterials. So when the nanomaterial introduced, there are no methods to evaluate the effect of that nanomaterial on the health of human being, or on the aquatic ecosystem, or how does the various size, shape, and structures, or the composition of the nanomaterial affect various cellular structures. These are some of the integral difficulty because of that risk assessment program of use of nanomaterial is hampered. So this is something is very interesting topic if someone wish to accompany. So this is something is the end of my presentations, and I'm thankful to my collaborators, to my students who has helped me to generate data, some data that I had showed in this presentation. I'm thankful to my student who has helped me in preparing my presentations, and I'm thankful to my collaborators from CMATE, collaborators from SP College, and others who had helped me a lot to do some good work in this nano field. Thank you guys, and thank you for peacefully listening to my talk. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really a very enlightening and interesting presentation, and it was all new for most of us. So thank you very much for that wonderful, insightful presentation. So I request the participants, if they have any questions, you may please ask the questions.
Yeah, please. If participant has any question, they may ask me. If you don't mind, can I minimize this presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, so that we can have an interactive session. Yeah.
Right. Sir.
Yeah.
In the chat box, I can read that. Thank you, sir, for this informative session. I would like to ask you that where do you see the future of biopolymers and nanoparticles? As many researchers are going on in this, researches are going on in this field, since the use of nanoparticles also has some risk. So when such biopolymers goes into the environment, then it will again be a cause of concern.
Very good questions, Dashinta Bhagat. You are correct. As you rightly pointed out, that when these nanomaterials are discharged in the environment, they would be a risk. So that's why biodegradable polymer made up of chitosan, polymer made up of a biodegradable material are now as envisioned for use in various applications. Earlier, inorganic nanomaterial were being tried. Now inorganic materials are used in the commodity, in solar cells, in preparing some batteries. But for medical purposes, organic nanomaterial are now organic, that too biodegradable nanomaterial are finding an applications. And most precisely, if not biomedical, then polymeric nanomaterial will find a great applications in treating or in cosmetic industries, because it is at the epidermal layer only. So various liposome and polymeric material are now being and that too biodegradable polymer are now vision to deliver the active and therapeutic ingredient through this biopolymer. So there you can see the future of the biopolymer nanomaterial. Yeah. So that's an
Okay.
answer.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Any other question from the participants?
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
see more? Can you give more
elaborate?
On micro encapsulation? Okay.
Exactly.
See. Okay. Yeah. Micro encapsulation is a technique that I spoke in the seed nanopriming. What happened in this case is that the seed are coated with a nanomaterial, with either liposomes and or by sol gel method or by spray drying method, and this encapsulation can have multiple purpose. If the aim is to protect the seed from the microbial action, then bioactive nanomaterial can be encapsulated. Then the aim of the encapsulation is to deliver the nutrient content, then you need to devise the strategies that will not destroy the nutritional content of that nutrient. So microencapsulation obvious can be done by sol gel method, by spray drying method, by deep coating method. Of course, depends on the purpose for which you are trying to perform this microencapsulation. So that's the answer, Dr. N.P. Barguzer. I hope you got the my point.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, madam, because I have to cover so much of content, and in fact, I had to give very detailed account of some applications of sensor as well. But owing to the time constraint, I was just checking time all the time.
Yes, it is such a vast field that one cannot
Yeah.
really cover it in 2 hours.
Yes,
That's
madam.
true.
Yes, madam. I tried my best. In fact, my lab itself is working on now agriculture field, nano priming, seed
Okay.
nano priming. So we are now, earlier I used to work in the biofilm, but now I shifted my research from biomedical to agriculture field, and now I'm trying my nanomaterial use of nanomaterial to improve the seedling and to improve the seed germinations. So that is the recent work I have started this stage.
Sir, have you worked in the area of solar thermal energy storage, use of nanomaterials?
No, madam. In fact, since I belongs from biological field, so I haven't worked, madam.
Right.
But my collaborator, I'm sorry, my one collaborator, I have worked with Dr. Satish Ogle sir. So he used to use in the solar cell. I had worked in the past, and now also I'm working with Dr. Ogle sir in one project. But he works in that
He
solar.
works there. So I would definitely like to meet him sometimes because
Yes.
in our center we work in solar thermal area also. So
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. That's good. That's good.
So one more question I see here.
For
Can you
seed
give
germination.
some insight on use of nanoparticles or materials for seed germination? Yeah, you were telling this.
Yes. Recently, we published an article in the journal Cell, wherein we had it was a review article, and in that review article we have showed numerous nanomaterial that can be used to germinate the seed. I'll give a brief account of that. Some of the nanomaterials such as zinc oxide nanomaterial, titanium oxide nanomaterial, copper oxide nanomaterial, even mineral nanomaterial of mineral origin. Now, seed requires some minerals for its growth. So, nanomaterial made up of a mineral nanomaterial are some of the will have a dual purpose. It will not only deliver the nutrient content through minerals, but it will also prime the seed. Priming means conditioning the physiological state of the seed, so that seed tends to thereafter gets a better opportunity to develop into the plant slate given the favorable condition. So those are some of the nanomaterial which can be used for better germination of the seed. So I hope, Dr. Mandar Badwe, I answer your question. Thank you, Dr. Mandar Badwe.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Sir, may I ask one query regarding that core shell nanoparticle?
Yes.
Core shell are just a mixture of as I know that much of little bit, that core shell nanoparticle are made up by coating of one of the nanoparticle or the substrate over the another at the rate of are written in the many of the research paper. But I didn't get idea whether they are made up of mixing of simple two nanoparticles togetherly or coating one another.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, and I'll answer in two ways. Solid core shell nanoparticle and microporous core shell nanoparticle or mesoporous core shell nanoparticle. So as you said, roughly, it is like there are two different structures of nanomaterial. In other sense, there are two different types of nanomaterial made up of two different metal or two different nanostructure material, one layered over the other. So this is a solid material, solid core shell. However, in a microporous core shell, we are working in. I'm working with CMET, where we are forming the porous core shell nanoparticle. So what we are doing is that we are using NaOH to dissolve the ZNO. So we are preparing a ZNO nanoparticle, and we are coating a shell of ZNS, and ZNS do not dissolve in NaOH. However, NaOH tends to leach out the zinc oxide from the core. So yes, core shell is a material, nanomaterial of one structure layered over the other, but that can be porous or solid. So that's what that core shell structure is about. I hope I answered your question, Dr. Shweta Vyas.
Yes, sir, I got that. Solid or the hollow, you mean to say one has to be hollow space maybe there, like in ZNO you are quoting ZNS.
No, I was saying that core shell can be porous core with a solid shell, or solid core with a solid shell. That's what I mean to say. So core shell are of two types.
Okay, sir, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta. Yes,
Good
Dr.
afternoon, sir. Very thoughtful and very nice presentation.
Thank you,
Really
sir.
congratulate you.
Thank you.
Madam, just one question.
Yes,
from
sure,
my
sir.
side. Sir, you talked about that zinc and all those as a supplement. So in nanomaterials, those can act as supplement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So generally the medicine what we take as zinc supplements and all those, are those in nanomaterial formulations or?
Sir, well, if the zinc supplements are taken as a nanomaterial formulations, then they will have one important application that now in a stomach, particles are absorbed through the small intestine by the endocytosis. So if they are micro or nanoparticles, they will be absorbed faster. If they are metal ion, then those metal ion mostly will be interacting with some other component of the food, like zinc. If you take a zinc supplement, so if you take a zinc tablet, that zinc tablet dissolve in liquid and zinc ions are formed. If you take that, then efficacy of absorbing the zinc ion through the stomach is less. But if you use a zinc nanomaterial tablet made up of zinc nanomaterial, say nano zinc, then small quantity of that zinc nanomaterial would be absorbed through the intestinal layer, and that small quantity is just sufficient that it will give you the content of the zinc that is required to your body, and simultaneously it will not dysbiose the gut microbiota, which is very essential in the stomach. So zinc as such in water is not that useful, but yes, nanostructure of the zinc would have more better absorption, microparticles of the zinc or microparticles of some nutrient. In fact, one of my students, I mean the same student who has now registered for this, the Amruta Shelar, who has now registered for this seed nanopriming, she has once constructed the nanoparticles of the micronutrient, and we were trying to address the problem of the malnourishment. So we had preliminary results where micronutrient are absorbed better, are taken up by the cell. I mean, so in a cell culture experiment, they are better taken up than the nutrient in a solution. So based on that, I say that micronutrient or the zinc as a nanomaterial or micromaterial would be far better absorbed through stomach. That's what I want to answer your question, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Over to Madam.
Yeah. So any other question? One or two questions we can take.
Actually, this afternoon session, I think participants get slightly tired.
Exactly. They're in a hurry to wind up.
And Dr. Andy had told me that there's a vast gap, group of the students, some from civil, some from informatics.
Yes.
But it was very difficult for me to deliver the content. In fact, I was about to speak about the biocement in civil. There are students of civil engineer. So I was about to say that there are some microcapsules of the organisms, some microparticles of the organisms, and they are mixed with the cement. So whenever the cracks develop, these microparticles, this microorganism, the spores of this microorganism, they convert calcium into the calcium carbonate and seals the crack. So that's the application of the nanomaterial in the even biological application of nanomaterial in the civil engineering. In fact, in the I had one project. I had one project in the electronic waste. I'd like to give just a brief account of that. We had an ISRO project wherein we were trying to get rid of the electronic waste. You all know that mobile electronic transistors, TV, gadgets, their motherboard, the motherboard of this electronic content, they are recycled, but recycled in an unorganized sector. And if you find that they have a huge content of the copper and various other toxic elements, so we had to develop a consortium of microorganisms that were leaching this metal from this various electronic waste, and we had proposition to convert this electronic waste into electronic nanomaterial, and those nanomaterials then to be used in various applications, separating copper, leached copper from the electronic waste and converting that leached copper to the nanomaterial. So that is application in the informatics as well. So that is one way of use of biology in the informatics technology. So I was about to speak that also, but owing to the time constraint, I didn't include that content. Since I found some window time, so is the reason I am speaking.
Yes, sir.
Actually, sir.
Hello.
Sir, I want to know that drawback of nano dyes in textile industry.
Nano dyes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I don't think that I spoke as a nano dyes. There are dyes in the textile industries. They are carcinogenic.
Using nanoparticles.
Okay.
Using nanoparticles.
Okay. Nanoparticle has a great implication in degrading the dyes. When the dyes are the color component, and they have a complex structure, and most of the dyes have been reported as a carcinogenic material. So textile industry, entire effluent of the textile industries can be eradicated with zinc oxide nanomaterial. If you add some zinc oxide nanomaterial or semiconductor nanomaterial in that textile effluent, and if you eradicate it with the white light or UV light, because of the band gap, because of the formation of holes and the charge separation, water splitting will happen, superoxide and hydroxyl radical will form, and they will degrade the dye very efficiently. Within half hour or 1 hour, the entire dye will be degraded. So the water which had a high content of the dye and was carcinogenic if you used for consumption purpose, for agriculture or any other purpose, can be made harmless by treating it with nanomaterial in half hour or 1 hour. So that's what the importance of nanomaterial in degrading the dyes of the textile industries. I hope I answered your answer. Yes, D. Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Still, in this very short time, you managed to cover many of the applications of this technology.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm sorry if I missed anything, ma'am, but I tried my best to deliver the content.
That was a wonderful session, sir. We could learn many applications of these nanomaterials, nanoparticles. So if there are no more questions, Once again, I would like to thank you very much, sir, for your valuable time and this wonderful session.
My pleasure, ma'am. I had a very long relation with Department of Technology. My student herself is a part of Department of Technology, PhD student. So it's my pleasure as well to be associated with Department of Technology in this endeavor, ma'am. It's my pleasure as well.
Great.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Nandi sir, if there is no other student, can we declare this?
Sure. Please go ahead.
So we conclude this session, and thank you, Dr. Patil sir, as well as all the participants for this interactive, wonderful session. And let us meet tomorrow again for the session at 9 o'clock. So have a wonderful evening and all the best.
Ma'am, I request to you that today morning 2 sessions was interrupted due to internet connectivity. If there that PPT individually first, second, and third will be uploaded to us at our mail, it will be great help to us.
Okay, we will look into that, and if possible, I would request Professor Nandi to do that.
Sorry, Dr. Sharma, can you repeat what is your exact query?
एक्चुअली सर आज सुबह इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी का थोड़ा इशू था, बार बार हम बाहर हो जा रहे थे, तो उसको यदि पीडीएफ फॉर्मेट में आपका हमें मिल जाए तो बहुत अच्छा होगा.
पीडीएफ फॉर्म ऑफ पीपीटी.
पीपीटी का पीडीएफ फॉर्मेट जो होता है, एक्चुअली क्या जो रिकॉर्डिंग वाला होता है ना, उसमें बहुत टाइम होता है, व्यू करने में टाइम लगता है. और ये
PDF of all that presentations are already uploaded in the on that Google Drive. Okay, so till 10th we have already uploaded. 11 and 12 will also upload. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.